This is a closer look at the FiiO FH5s. I'm about to do a full review, but we'll start this at the beginning. This is the box. It's got some neat reflections of kind of an exploded view in the background. Who cares? It's neat. Take a look at it for a second. It has a 12mm beryllium plated dome for the base, 12mm for the base. And then it's got a 6mm beryllium plated dynamic, probably the whole diaphragm from what I read, for the mids. So the bass is being taken care of by an independent driver. The mids are being taken care of by another driver, which is mids. And then you have the treble being taken care of by balanced armature. This is the same configuration as the Sony IER Z1R. There's no relationship between the two, I'm pretty sure. I'd be stunned. But the configuration is different. The Sony has a full range driver, and then it's got a BA in the middle for the mids, and then it's got a super tweeter, basically micro dynamic driver taking care of the treble, and that combo is, they're so close. FiiO, one adjustment. Even if this sounds good, why not just try to go for that and then try to make it front firing. This is a closer look at it. It has a screen on the back, and that is actually for air pressure, and you should not get driver flex from either of the two drivers, which would be an issue. We'll see. They look nice. Case, I've seen this before with the FD5 and others. Pull this out. Got tips that are common with the FiiO IMs. You've got 4.4 and 2.5 adapters. These are slightly different from the Dunu. These kind of pop out from the end. I actually like these, to be honest with you. Neatest thing in this little kit is this. This is a cleaning tool, which is common, and this is for adjusting the dip switches. And I used it, and it's very effective. The SD ejection things that some companies send is kind of lazy, in my opinion, because that's actually for SD ejection. This is much more suited for the dip switches. You're not going to scratch your expensive IEM or your customs or something expensive that might have dip switches, which I've worried about before, because the ejection ones are a little bit flat and wide sometimes. You got to really focus on what you're doing. This goes into the slot nicely. This is a clever little simple. I just haven't seen it before. If anybody else has done it, let me know. I like that. I've used it. I like it. That's it for that. Stop the video and we'll go ahead and start giving impressions about listening, which is what this is all about. And I'm out. Okay, this is a video for the FiiO FH5s. You just saw it, the kind of unbox. Let's go ahead and listen to a portion right here. I don't think I've ever been as uncomfortable listening to upper frequency events as I have on this set right here. And I include the FiiO F9 Pro in that. I include the SSR by Moondrop in that. This blew my mind how loud it is. I had to turn down. Here's how this started. This is the print I'm on now. This was the original one that I had. Track one. Remember, I start by listening to low frequency events. First one is Big Boy Killjoy. Just listening to how powerful the impact is. It's deck mixed, triple hit. And I wrote Hatsune ... No, because the Vocaloid intro is just screaming into my brain like, no, I don't mean bright volume. I mean dragging fingers on a chalkboard type of like, wow, cringe, make me feel uncomfortable. Next track, I'm listening to a bass guitar and a drum kit and their interplay and whether or not they're being crunched together and it's sounding like kind of like a blob. And Ozzy came in and no, he did the same thing. So I said, okay, stop. This is FiiO. FiiO's been around since I had 1,000 subscribers and they've never try harder. So I did. And I went to bass configure and I wrote in bass just so I could say that. However this went, in bass config equal balance question mark. No, absolutely not. It's got a 10 dB peanut gain. Take a look at the graph. This is the SSR. This is interesting because I was looking at this, which is not a good sign. This right here, the FiiO, this is pretty typical. It's actually just 10 dB. This is not going to indicate to you what is going on. And the Moondrop SSR is a 15 dB gain, and it's got no sub bass. And I jumped all over this set, and it does better than this set does. If I looked at a graph of that and said, which one would you pick? I'd pick the FiiO all the time. And then I'd end up with not the better set. I wouldn't wreck either one of these sets, but what's the most offensive treble that I've ever heard that I can recall right off the top of my head? I would have said SSR. Now I'll say the FHS. It says standard right there. In bass, there's not a lot of really difference in that. Other people, when they do their reviews, can check. My set doesn't make a lot of difference with the bass in different configurations. It seems to adjust the treble. So the cymbals, Aussie, Hatsune, and then I get to the what I just listened to. I wonder if they'll ding me for that. I wonder if that was that loud and clear. If isolation and leakage to people outside is a concern for you, then this would not be your set because it's ventilating. Those vents are real, and the sound is kind of everywhere. I was actually facing the back plates towards you when I was doing those little sound sweeps with the cymbals. So I'm listening to the low frequency event of this review, and I'm totally stolen by upper frequency in a really negative way. And I get into the mids and guitar, and everything is like I would expect it to be after what had just happened in the bass. Guitars, the upper portions of the guitar, the harmonic, the extension, vocals and guitar, the fundamentals and the harmonic extensions are very, very similar. So in my library, both of those things being emphasized in a bad way is a no-go. And that's why bright sets typically don't. And I do a disclaimer at the beginning of my videos because I do tend to like stuff a little more balanced, maybe a tilt warm because of my library. It's very important what I listen to because I can't have vocals, guitar solos, and cymbal strikes being unbearable because that's a lot of what I listen to. I can't like say, I don't listen to that on that much. No, that's my library right there. All of the stuff that I listen to. This was really, really bad. Sneak and Sally Through the Alley, there's a harmonic, and that harmonic is not going good on this set. Cymbal strikes are not going good on this set. Treble, it was really, so I got Big Boy Killjill again for vocal in Hatsune Miku intro, just like I got it for the bass at the beginning as well. Because sometimes she sounds, like on the Oracle that I just reviewed, she sounds fine. Crystal clear, nice, and then the bass, it sounds good, and that's how it's delivered when it's tuned right. This was done in not a great way. And if I looked at this graph, let's take the SSR out, I would think that doesn't look bad. It's got some good extension all the way out to 8, and then it's falling off. That's pretty typical to a lot of harmonish stuff. It's not, there's no anomaly or some cavity that's going to cause wobble. There's no ridiculous bass bleed. It's decent. There's nothing on the graph that would jump out and say this is going to be too much for you. What happens is, and I didn't know this when I did the first page because I wrote no, and then I wrote FiiO, try Z1R config and plus thanks. Now I'm going to talk about those two things plus this. So I'm not going to get into the review because I really can't listen to my library comfortably. I switched it into bass mode and I turned the volume down, and that was not good enough to take away what was causing discomfort with my listening. I could turn it down more, but that's not how I listen. That's taken away the low frequency even more, and it's really not changing the tilt, which is offensive treble tilt on this in the bass configuration. So I'm going to dedicate or talk to, I don't recommend this set. Wait for other people to do their reviews with other libraries. Libraries, the context, the music that I listen to dictates how I perceive certain things and why other people don't perceive them the same way that I do because of this. Because this gear is designed to play music. This is my music. This is the stuff. And what I listen to dictates my conclusions. Because again, like I said, I want to hear cymbal strikes. I want to hear kick drums. I listen to Girls Got Rhythm, and everything with guitar is not so great. Have you ever had a KZ? And you know that metallic sound that it comes from, that you get, that sheen, that shine, that glare, that like if that one thing was removed, this might be a good set. That's kind of what they did with this set. They stuck a balanced armature in the nozzle, and they actually spoke about it in a way that blows my mind. This driver is placed directly in the sound tube to be as close to the ear as possible for less high frequency loss and better extension giving. Your extension's fine, except your extension up into my brain. It's very offensive. And I'll note to you, this is a this cable is more expensive than these earphones. That's how much I love the V14s. This is a Rosencrantz cable. Most expensive cable that I've got. It's on the V14. There's 14 balanced armatures inside here, and none of them are in the nozzle. That's a pretty typical set right there. It's got all the BAs, and they're tubed, and then they've got the filters, and then it's got 4 bores. And that's how you do a set with BAs. You tube it, just like you do with dynamic drivers. Sticking it in the nozzle, you're going to get the same result. You basically took what was a fantastic idea and then KZ'd it at the end. I mean old KZ, and ruined the whole thing for my library. It doesn't work. Don't put... Everybody stop putting BAs in nozzles. It's not necessary. There's multiple BA sets. There's hybrids with multiple BAs that don't put them in the nozzles. It doesn't make sense. Don't do it. My reviewer's opinion and feedback to you, don't. But in a positive, FiiO, how about this? You have a dynamic driver, a balanced armature, and a dynamic driver. That's the same configuration as the Sony IR-Z1R. Are you going to be able to make something like that? Unlikely. Highly unlikely. But you could take and get a little of the mojo that comes from a full frequency driver, taking care of the bass, basically full frequency, putting the bass, putting the BA in the mid and linking it to, this is where one of the special sauces of the Z1R is, that they're taking, the treble is being taken care of a microdynamic driver, which is a rarity in the hobby. And the quality of the treble is excellent. The extension, the detail on the IR-Z1R is fantastic. Some people think the thins are a little mid, the mids are a little thin. The fit is obviously not ideal, but it's a top tier set for most people that have a lot of experience. It's a top tier set to mine, and you got the same 3 drivers. You've just switched why don't you put this in the middle and then put a slightly smaller one and then try it. Be the first hi-fi company that does this, a reasonably well-known hi-fi company, and put a dynamic driver for the treble. And then keep a large dynamic driver like the 14 point something millimeter one that you had before, and put that as the full range driver, and then link them with a mid BA, not like a treble screamer like this one. And then try it out, tune it, see how that works. You're not gonna, they're firing all of those directly out on the Sony IR-Z1R, and it's in a big like zinc shell, and those hard shells have something to do with the sound property. I'm convinced of that. So you're not going to get there, but you could get in the ballpark of there by using the same configuration. You're there right now in gear. Like you've got the BA and you've got the larger driver, bigger than this one. You've got the 14, and then take this or slightly smaller and then make like a Z1R. You're so close to something else, but you're doing this and you blew it by sticking it in the nozzle. It's so clear to the ear that I couldn't get past really the bass evaluation without being totally turned off to the set completely. That this came to you by me first is proof that FiiO is a company that doesn't try to control the narrative. They're a spaghetti company. They throw stuff on the wall and they see what sticks. This reviewer thinks that this fell off the wall very quickly and it didn't work. But they have the ability to make lots of other stuff, and when they're being creative, they sometimes do good stuff. The FH3 is a really, really good set. A lot of people love that set. They do great work. Sometimes. This didn't work out for me. Wait for more reviews. Somebody might give this a better shot. I just can't see how this would work out well. Take the BAs out of the nozzle. reconfigure and go for a Z1R and see if there's anything to that dynamic linked by BA to another smaller dynamic taking care of the treble. A dynamic driver taking care of the treble is it's a nice thing. You know, they're getting ESTs, and I'll leave that for another video. I would recommend skipping this or waiting to get more input, and for a rock and roll based library where cymbals could be annoyingly extended, guitar solos would require being turned down, and every vocalist that is even remotely slightly offensive, like a Neil Young, a Jim Croce, or Ozzy Osbourne, they're all going to jump out at you. So is that worth the investment? I don't know. That's all I got, and I'm out.